Well, Jess Johnson with Talon Metals. There are so many metals companies that I've been talking to today. It's like I almost said something else.
Yeah.
But welcome to the line. I'm really glad that you're sitting down here and having this real and honest conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I love these conversations in the industry about what is going on and just talking about the things that really aren't getting talked about a lot and need to be talked about more. And at an event like this, it's extremely exciting. We're currently at the Mining and Energy Expo, and here in we're between the Twin Cities, so I'm not sure which city we're in, but we're in Minnesota.
Yes.
So at the Mall of America, which is a pretty big mall.
It is?
Yeah.
You can get lost easily.
Yes, this is true. Some of our team actually got lost in the Lego world.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they all are geeks,
dangerous
nerds,
place.
whatever you want to call it. Like, me too, but my kids ruined that for me because they always made me buy them Legos and they cost a fortune. So there's something for you to invest in, Legos. But you're sitting down here and we're going to have a conversation and kind of talk about what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
And why don't you talk with us about, so you're currently in the mining industry.
Yes.
And Jess, how did you get here?
Yeah, I feel like I have a fairly interesting story. I guess I'd like to think it's interesting. So I did not grow up with mining in my history, in my background, in my family whatsoever.
Okay.
Mining is very new to me. I've been with the Talon Metals company for 6 years now. Prior to that, I was born and raised in northern Minnesota, small community, about 300 people in the area. I went to a K through 12 school, had 21 kids in my graduating class.
Oh, wow.
But grew up in northern Minnesota, land of 10,000 lakes, where I lived at the dead end of a dirt road, and I got to spend all of my time fishing, hunting, canoeing, camping, all things Minnesota outdoors, and just loved it. So when I graduated, my parents said, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "Well, I want to do something outdoors. I just love nature." Looking at different careers, the obvious choice was something around natural resource management. So I said, that seems pretty broad. I could do anything outdoors. I'll go to school for that. So I went to the U of M in Crookston for natural resource management. Fun fact, I actually stayed an extra semester at the end. I wasn't ready to be done yet, and tacked on a communication minor because my advisor said, yeah, communication is helpful with just about anything, so why don't you tack that on? I'm now the VP of External Affairs for Talon. So it turns out that was a very
Communication's kind of important.
Helpful tool.
Yeah.
But really, I started out, natural resources was my focus. I just wanted to do things outside. So when I graduated from school, I had a few different roles. I worked at some of the state parks in Minnesota, Itasca State Park, headwaters of the Mississippi.
Yeah.
I was a naturalist, so I was teaching about environmental, education, conservation, teaching about the history of the Mississippi River. From there, I ended up shifting to a place called Long Lake Conservation Center, which is an environmental learning center for specifically fifth grade students in the state of Minnesota. So I spent 5 years there teaching youth about conservation, which I always took that, the importance for me was teaching conservation, not preservation, and conservation is the wise use of natural resources. And I always emphasize that we use our resources, so we need to respect them, but use them wisely, but it's not, not using them.
So do me a favor and kind of, like you did explain it there, but go a little bit deeper on the difference between conservation and preservation.
Yeah, and we always taught at Long Lake that conservation is the wise use of natural resources, and we just really wanted to make sure that students, growing up understood that we as humans use resources from the earth to live our daily lives, and that...
Haven't we been doing that since the beginning of time?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we use all sorts of materials, the common phrase, if it's not grown, it's mined.
Yeah.
Everything comes from the earth, and so it's about respectfully using those resources.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was always important, was emphasizing that, preservation is about preserving as it is, but I feel like as humans we use all resources, so we should really talk about the conservation side.
Well, and I would think, based on your origin story, the outdoors are very important to you. These things are very important to you.
Yes.
You've grown up enjoying them. You went to school wanting your career to be connected with them. And so it's like, I think that's one thing that really strikes me a lot in these industries, is just how we don't realize the men and women that are doing this work are some of the greatest environmentalists that I've ever seen. Like,
absolutely.
they're not out there getting sound bites and talking about things. They're living it. They're doing it.
Yes.
They're making an actual difference and not even getting acknowledged for it.
No, I think that was the biggest shock. So to take it a step further, after Long Lake, I learned about Talon metals.
Yeah.
This was a project that was actually in my backyard. I live 4 miles from the project site where the proposed mine will be. So
that's kind of funny.
I always knew about the project,
Yeah.
but I've never been exposed to the mining industry. I knew it was minerals and a natural resource. They posted a job for a community role. It's like, well, I live in the community, and
Yeah.
I know a little bit about natural resources, so why don't I check it out? And I met with the team, and that's where my eyes were opened, like you said, how many environmental scientists and geologists and geophysicists and engineers were a part of this team. And honestly, I at first was a little upset that through my college career, I never learned about this career path, that I could do natural resource management in the mining industry. There was never a connection for me. I was glad that it was presented to me 6 years ago, and I joined the Talon team then, and I've just grown with this team, and it's been really cool to see that connection in the mining industry that I just was never aware of.
I want to ask you a question, but before I do, I want to kind of bookmark where we are and say I want to come back to how you were never presented with that in college. So I want to remember that. But the question that I want to ask you is, what is a tool or a piece of gear that Jess cannot live without?
Ooh, a tool or a piece of gear that I can't live without. All right, it's going to be kind of cheesy.
If you say your cell phone, you can leave right now.
No,
Okay.
It won't be my cell phone.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's a handshake and a smile.
Really?
Yes.
Let's try that out.
Yeah.
That works.
Yes. I think, and I guess specifically in my role in engagement,
Yeah.
that is the tool that we all need to use.
I agree.
I think, specifically in my area within the mining industry, on the engagement piece, you end up having a lot of difficult conversations. Yeah, maybe Understatement, yep. But I think we need to lean into that more, and I think we need to lean into just our humanity. We are people. We have our own personalities, but we need to use the tools we just have, right?
Yeah.
A smile and a handshake, meet people, understand where they're coming from. So I think that's the tool I try to use in my personal and my career.
I think that's really insightful. A lot of people don't realize that there's actual science behind it as well.
Yeah.
Like when you shake someone's hand, what that does for actual connection with what goes on in the brain, it's a real thing.
Yes.
Not to mention, fun fact, people don't understand what a smile, like one, there's a visual aspect to it, but I read a book once and I learned something, and so now my team is so sick of hearing this from me. But we'll often have conference calls or strategy calls with clients, and I was just talking with my assistant the other day, and I said, hey, when you're on the phone with people, remember to smile while you're talking to them. And she looked at me and she's like, I'm on the phone. But there is science behind the way your voice changes when you smile and talk.
Yes. So
And
true.
it is. I read a book on negotiation, and that's where I learned it.
Yeah.
Because it changes the way that people connect with you and perceive, and it even changes the way that you sound audibly, which sounds ridiculous. And she did it, and literally came into my office and goes, "That's stupid. It worked." Like, it was just really funny.
But it does work. It's such a great tool that can be used for any purpose, whether
But
it's
it's so simple.
at home or at work, in any discipline that you're in.
Don't you think it's about being intentional too? Because
Yeah.
like sometimes I find myself in those situations, and you talk about hard conversations, and I find myself in those situations, and a lot of times I'm not in the greatest mood.
Mm-hmm.
And when I decide to smile, and I decide to shake someone's hand and connect, what that does, even to my mood, is I don't want to say I force myself, but it changes my mood.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we have to really be aware of, and we need to be intentional, because the reality is sometimes I wake up and I don't want to go to work. You know? Sometimes it's hard, but when we decide to be intentional about it, we can take something that is hard and make it effective and powerful. And when we do that, that's satisfying.
Yes.
I mean,
so true.
Yeah. Well, I really like that. That's pretty good. No one's ever said that before.
Good. I'd try to be unique.
Yeah. So, bookmarking where we were. If we open the book back up, you go to Talon Metals. You're kind of frustrated. I keep seeing twin metals behind me, and I want to say that, but you go to Talon Metals, and you were frustrated that this career path was never presented to you. Talk about that a little bit more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I do think if I would have known a bit more information earlier on about the mining industry, about how it's connected to environmental sciences and environmental protection, I maybe would have chose to go into the mining industry career path sooner than I did. So I think that's what frustrates me, is that I think there's a lot of other youth going into school now that their focus is, I want to grow up and protect the environment. And they're immediately being taught that mining is not an option if that's what you want to do, is protect the environment. And I think we need more people that are focused on environmental responsibility in the industry. And we already have it. We need to show the younger generation that you can be a part of this too. It is so much more beneficial to protect the environment by working with industry than spending all of your time fighting it.
Why do you think that our culture and our society, at Blackline, our vision is to lift the view of the skilled trades and the industry. And I do feel like there's been this cultural shift, or like when I grew up, it was like these trades, these jobs, they weren't even really an option. Like it was like I came into the trade because I grew up in the trade, and actually I didn't even want to be in the trade, because it was like everybody that I talked to, it's like, oh, you're gonna work the trades, like, so you can't get into a college, or you can't.
Yeah.
And why do you think that has been going on, and how do you think that, this is a difficult question, but I think you can handle it, Jess. How do you think we change that?
Yeah, that is a challenge. I actually want to go back to my tool, the handshake and a smile. I think we need to bring back the genuine conversations about what this industry is about. I think too often we're our own worst enemy in our industry. We want to point to facts and figures and technical information about what we do. And one, to youth or the general public, that's boring.
Yes.
And two, it doesn't feel authentic to just people's daily lives.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just a core starting point, is just coming back to real, genuine conversations. I think surprising to the upside. Meeting people, I actually love to meet new people and then not tell them my career and that I'm in mining. And I have 20-minute conversation with them, 30-minute, and then at the end, oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm in mining. And just the shock on their face, like, wait,
really
I don't expect someone like you to be in mining. And like, well, actually, the mining industry is full of people like me.
Well, and I think that probably really catches people off guard too, because you clearly care about the environment. You clearly care about those things. I mean, when you say that, it cracks me up. It makes me think of a pastor friend that I have, and he would love to be on the golf course, like hanging out with people and not tell them what he does. And then they're halfway through, and I don't do golf, so I don't know what it is, a set or holes or whatever. But they'd be about halfway through the course, and then people would find out what he does, and they'd be like, "Oh, really? Like, it's just funny." So, I mean, but I think that when you talk about that real and authentic conversation, people, all of us are guilty of looking at someone and thinking that we know who they are without having the real conversation.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest problems right now with media and social media is we don't know people. It's not, listen, 100 likes, 1,000 likes, 1,000,000 likes. That doesn't mean that people even understand who you are. The only way to know people is through a handshake and a smile and real relationship.
Yes.
And so I think that's something that we do need to get back to. It's not that we don't do those things. I mean, we have a whole business on media, but we need to have real and honest conversation, and we need to recognize that those relationships are built by getting to know one another.
Yes. Completely agree. And I think it's something that the entire industry needs to do as well. I think sometimes we can think, oh, that's for the external affairs team.
Yeah.
And it's for everybody.
I was guilty of that too. It is for everyone.
Every component of the industry, you just have to have those conversations.
You have to. And if you're an organization, whether you're in the mining industry, whether you're in the construction industry, trades, whatever, if you're not having those conversations and you're not being public about it, then people aren't going to trust you.
Nope.
They aren't going to think that, and we need to have them because there are other voices out there saying things that aren't true. And the only way that we can combat that is to, like, we don't have to get in people's faces about it, but you at least need to put it out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's something, I mean, we do at our project in Tamarack. We have an open door policy.
Yeah.
And anybody, whether it's one person, a group of 20 people, it can be Joe Schmo from down the street, can come in and have a tour, and we will take them through our core shed, out to a drill rig, meeting our team, and just getting to know the project and what takes place behind the scenes. And I think that is just a huge, huge benefit. And it's getting your team comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be comfortable, from the geologists to the drillers to the engineers, with having those conversations.
Well, and I would assume, based on your role, that a big part of your role is getting the team comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And in the industry, that's difficult to do because when you are out there, then you're exposed to scrutiny. You're exposed to comments. Someone just walked up to me and was talking to me. They follow us online, and we were talking about she had posted something, and she was just sharing with me how difficult it was because someone from Washington, she's here in Minnesota, she posts something online, and someone from Washington sent her a nasty comment. And it's like, we have to remember that those people who don't know us, we have to kind of let those comments roll off our back, and it's not a reason to not post. It's not a reason to not have that conversation and be out there.
Yeah, you can't feel like those few negative comments mean that you're failing. You just have to push through it further. Well,
and I personally think that the way to combat that is real relationships. Like, in the industry of marketing and brand building that we're in, when you go public, it's like the importance of having real foundational relationships in your life to help you through that. Like, because you are going to have negative comments. You are going to have people that you make angry. Because sometimes the truth makes people angry, especially if you're promoting something that they don't want. The only way to combat that, I believe, is through those relationships in your life that have real connection.
Yes.
I'm married, and my wife provides some of that for me. I've experienced some comments, and I can remember one time a comment was made, and she says, "Well, here, and here. This is what I know about you." And it's like, now there are times that people have made comments about me, and my wife has said, "Well, there might be a grain of truth to that. But that's how you measure them. That's how you deal with that.
Yeah.
By the relationships that you have of people that do know you, that it's not just a like.
Yeah.
So with Talon and what you guys are doing, is your project is operational?
So we are in the environmental review and permitting process in the
Okay.
state of Minnesota. So we've been in that for about 2 years now, and hoping to move through in the coming years to be in construction and production.
So talk to people about what that means to be in that review process, because a lot of people, they're hearing these podcasts of different companies, and most of them are in the review process.
Yes.
And it can sound like they're in the actual process, but that's because the level of investment and the level of work to get through the process is astronomical.
Yeah. It's a big job.
Yeah.
It's big. I'm going to throw you for a loop here. I think a lot of times people talk about the review process with maybe a bit of a negative tone.
No. Never heard that.
No. I feel like we have been in this process for 2 years. I think it's working.
Really?
I do. It does take a long time, but I feel like our team has done a really good job of leaning into truly making this a collaborative process.
Yeah.
So we first submitted our underground mine design for this review 2 years ago, June of 2023, so a little over 2 years. And we felt like it was a really good design. Small footprint, about 60-acre footprint, small campus. There's a decline tunnel to access the underground, or it can come up, go across the campus into an ore barn, and then we will have rail cars come into that facility to load the ore, and we would do processing out at a facility in North Dakota. Seemed like great plan, start the review. So the way the review process works in Minnesota is you start with rounds of comments between the regulatory agencies, so DNR, pollution control, everyone. And actually with our project, this was the first project where the tribes were invited by the state from the very beginning.
This was the first one?
Yep. Usually
Wow.
they've been invited later on in the process, but for this project, it was from the very beginning of this,
That's awesome.
this scoping. And we
That's
received...
something your organization should be really proud of.
Yeah, we are proud of it. We've received a lot of comments, which we think is a good thing. So we've done 4 rounds of back and forth comments. We've gathered over 1,600 comments about our design. And where I think, I'm very proud of our team is instead of just responding to those comments and pushing forward with the design that we've proposed, we said, why don't we take these comments, connect them to, let's read between the lines, what's the root concern, and are there things we could do to our design to change it?
Wow.
And be collaborative with these comments, address the concerns now so that the project that moves forward in the permitting process is one that truly has been made from more than just our team. It's from everybody.
Yeah.
So we did that. Our new design is now a fully enclosed building on surface. So the decline tunnel comes directly into this building, which a lot of the initial comments and concerns we were hearing was about stormwater management.
Yeah.
With our original campus, trucks would come out of that decline tunnel, they'd travel across the surface, they'd truck mud out, and we'd have to manage that water. So if it rained, if it snowed, you need to treat that water. In those rounds of comments, the first round they said, well, what year storm event are you going to plan for? Like, we'll plan for a 100-year storm event. So we made sure we had a water treatment, tanks.
Yeah.
Second round of comments. Well, why didn't you plan for a 200-year storm event? Oh, we can do that. Let's work together on that. Next round of comments. Well, how about a 500-year storm event? Said, okay, we're recognizing that there's not a set regulation for how many years. But instead of just being very frustrated with that, we said, could we go back to the drawing board and just eliminate stormwater concern from the design? So that's where we switched to that enclosed building.
I want to stop you right there because
Yeah.
I want to ask a question because you're talking about something that I think is really important. You're getting those comments, and you guys made an intentional decision to not be frustrated.
Yes.
Because let's just be real about the comments. What about the stormwater? 100 years? Okay. And you go back out again. 200 years? 500 years? So if it's me, I'm basically like, okay, so there's the next one will be, what did you plan for 1,000 years? Like, and you decided to not become offended as an organization. What was that moment that triggered that? Where were you guys at, and why were you able to make that decision and be aware of that?
I mean, I think internally we had the same thought you just said, like, okay, next round will be 1,000-year storm event. And it was just a game of whack-a-mole, and we didn't want to play whack-a-mole anymore. And we said, you know what? Time and time again, we can be, as an industry, combative or frustrated, but why don't we take a step back and say, how can we try to work with the processes we have and find common ground? And we just decided that was the only path forward for us.
I think you said before, like you were trying to read between the lines. I read a book years ago. It's only about yay thick. And it said, what's the question behind the question?
Yes.
And it's like, I think a lot of times we really need to stop ourselves and be like, okay, what is really going on there? What is the question behind the question? And that's what you guys did.
Yep.
And that is intriguing to me because I think a lot of times we're in this like combative war of frustration.
Yeah.
The people that are making the comments, then you in the way that the comments are made. And the reason that I can speak to that is I'm married for over 20 years. So I have been in those wars. And the only way to win is to look at the question behind the question.
Yes.
And that's what you guys have done. And I think that is something that, as an industry, we really need to look at and be like, okay, why are they asking this? What is it that they're really concerned about? And can we take, I personally believe offendedness is never good.
No.
There's nothing that ever good comes of it. And if we're offended, well, then we need to deal with that because offendedness, again, things I've learned from being married, offendedness means that I'm not looking at it appropriately.
Yes.
So you guys made that decision, which then I'm believing you've seen benefits from.
Yes. So we submitted that new design last year. We are now wrapping up that back and forth comment period, and we're getting ready to enter the next phase of review. So actually moving the milepost and continuing to progress through the permitting. I think it's been
quick.
Very successful. There's still a lot more review to come, but I think, we are happy with moving forward with a project that is collaborative rather than just our way or the highway.
Well, and collaboration is huge because the reality is I'm a big proponent of team. And what you've done is you've invited the people who make the comments to be a part of your team.
Yes.
And that's really huge because team is one of those things that you can make something unstoppable when you make it a team effort.
Yes.
And so,
And really, these resources are in the ground in the state of Minnesota. It's a team effort. We found the resource, but it's a team effort to actually get them out of the ground and used for society. So we're all on that same team. We need to work together.
Yeah. Jess, what's a mistake that you've made in your life or in your career that you would be willing to share with us that you feel like you've learned from? I know I kind of gave you a heads up on this. And
I've been thinking about it. It's a tough one. I would say assuming is a big one. And I think coming into the mining industry without having a background in mining, but being open to conservation and natural resource management, I think I was maybe a bit naive in just assuming that people felt the same way I did. So I have always felt that we should protect our natural resources, but by using them and managing them safely.
Yeah.
And I think I always assumed that everyone understands that we rely on raw materials from nature. And I think coming into this role, as I had some of the difficult conversations,
Yeah.
I quickly realized that that is not the case. That's not what everybody thinks, and we can't just assume that everyone feels that way. So it takes a lot of effort to get into the nitty-gritty of some of those discussions, especially when it comes to people who maybe completely disagree with mining.
Yeah. Well, I think that's an interesting mistake to be honest about. I think assuming is one of those things that we all do. I won't say the old adage of what assuming does. You can figure that out yourself.
I was going to say it, but I didn't want to.
Well, if you want
swear.
to, go for it.
No.
Go for it. But I think that's one of the things that we all can be real about, and that we're all guilty of assuming. I was just talking with a young man who is involved in an organization that I started over 20 years ago, and he's one of the key players in the organization. And assuming is a form of judgment, I think, that is unfair and unreal. And sometimes we do it from a fear standpoint, because we might see some things that make us think that this person is like that person, or this person is like this, based on some things that we've experienced. And so then we make assumptions about them.
Yep.
And for me, I made assumptions about this young man. And actually, early in my career in building an organization, I made a lot of assumptions about people. And some of the best people on our team, some of the go-getters, the most effective people that are taking our organization to places we never could have gone, are people that I assumed never would be those people.
Yep.
And I made judgments on them because of some things that I saw. And I don't think that we have to judge things. We have to look at things and be like, okay, I'm judging the weight of this glass as I pick it up. Like, that's what I'm doing. But to apply judgment is totally different. And when we assume, we apply judgment, which means, okay, we judge things, and then we are judge, jury, and executioner on, well, this is who that person is. It's who they'll be for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And when we do that, and I've been very, very blessed to, outside of my assumptions, to have been forced to learn that they were wrong.
Yeah.
And so I was speaking with this young man the other day, and he totally is not what I judged him as, or the judgment that I placed on him. And that has helped me learn in how, okay, well, I don't want to make this assumption about this person.
Yeah.
I want to give them an opportunity. And if they prove that they are that person that I thought they might be, but the key is to give them the opportunity to get through it.
Yeah.
Not make the judgment before they even have had an opportunity to show you who they are.
Yes, definitely. I think also, not just assuming with people, but assuming with processes. So let's take it back to the environmental review process that our project is in. I think it's very easy to sometimes assume that a challenge that you enter is automatically negative, that it's a barrier, where
So true.
if you take that approach, if you get information that doesn't work well with your project, or if you're told you need to plan for a 200-year or 500-year or 1,000-year storm event, you shouldn't just assume that, oh, this is instantly a roadblock that I can't overcome, there's no way to move forward, and just take that negative approach. That's not the way to move forward. I think we have to stop just assuming that challenges are barriers, and just look for what's the solution where we can come together and move past it.
Well, and I think that an old timer told me years ago, nothing worth having isn't hard.
Mm-hmm.
And when challenges arise, it doesn't mean give up. It doesn't mean don't push through. It actually is a refining process in becoming better. I mean, you literally just talked about that through your process, and now being under one roof. And it's like, one, you were open to that idea, and two, then you implement that idea, and now you're moving forward with progress. And honestly, it sounds like a genius idea. And
we
it
like
actually
to think
came
so.
out of what people would think is a negative,
Yes.
but you chose to not let it be.
Exactly.
So kudos to your team for that. That's
Thank you.
huge.
Thank you.
I mean,
And I think it's an unpopular opinion that we say we're excited about the environmental review and permitting process that we're in, but we are. We think it's an exciting time to work together, to shape the project, and we're having a lot of fun with it, honestly.
Yeah, that is really awesome. Well, Jess, I really appreciate you stepping up to the line and having this real and honest conversation. You have been authentic and genuine, and that matters to us. And I think that it matters in this industry to be authentic and genuine.
I think so too.
If there was something that you would send us off with for the mining industry that you're wanting to communicate, using your communication degree here, that you're wanting to communicate to people, what would the number one thing be?
I'll just circle back to what I said earlier. I think don't be afraid to just get out there and meet people, tell your story, and start out with a smile and a handshake.
I think that's great. Thank you for stepping up to the line.
Thanks.